So now that we have the ability to create a user profile, let's go ahead and actually make a view so we can see this user profile and also make some changes and maybe add some matchmaking stuff in there as well. So if you go onto our GitHub, you see our common regular expressions for Django URLs. This is one of them that we're going to be using, which is the username one. So back into our project, we're going to go into URLs here and just paste in profile username, and the app name, of course, is profiles in this case. And we will say profile, and we'll give it the view name of profile as well. And this is going to be a name of profile. Okay, cool. So this means that it's going to be passing in a username, and then it's going to be looking for a profile, and that's it. So let's actually create the view for this function specifically. And in here, we'll go define profile. And the view itself is going to be taking in a request and the username, so the username argument. And then we're going to return render, request, and a template. So I'm going to call it profiles.profile.html. And then some context. I'll leave it as an empty dictionary for now. So there's a few more things that we need to do here, and that's from Django. Actually, we can leave that out for now. We'll do from .models import profile. So we'll have to get the user's profile. So user profile equals to profile.objects.get or create user equals to username. Not exactly user equals to username, but instead we have to get the user model itself. So now we'll do from Django.contrib.auth import get user model, and now we'll set user equals to get user model. So user equals to user.objects.get user equals to user, or username equals to username. And then finally, user is equal to user. So this is going to be that profile. I'm actually just going to call it profile. And I'm going to change the name of the view to be in profile view. And also change that in the URL. Okay, so now that we've got this inside of here, we can actually add the profile in. So let's cut this out, and I'll put it into our context variable. Good. So now that we've got this, I'm also going to call the profile view. There's the HTML. So all of this stuff should be kind of a view. These are calls that are actually getting it. And the user is coming off of this profile view. So when we actually look at a particular user, that's where we're going to actually go off of. So there is another thing that we might want to say here is this username. Instead of just getting the username this way, we might want to get object or 404. So let's actually import that into our shortcuts. So the user is actually going to be, instead of this, we'll say get object or 404 of user, and then comma, username equals to username. So this is really good. So if for some reason we have a false username, it's just going to raise a 404 error, as in page not found. All right, so now that we've got this, let's go ahead and make this template. And I'm going to go into my templates, new folder, call it profiles, and inside here we'll make a new file and we'll save it as profile_view.html, and it's going to extends base.html, and then finally we'll do block content in block, and first off we'll do profile.user, and then profile.image. Actually, we called it picture, I believe. Let's look back in our model. Called it picture. All right, so we've got profile user and profile picture. So let's actually go ahead and take a look at this now. Go back into our project. Let's make sure the server is running. Python manage.py, run server. Okay, so now profiles. And James Bond is that first one we did. and it's actually under profile, not profiles. So profile, James Bond. So the profile shows up, but we're not actually seeing it. So let's go back into our view and see why. And it's showing profile. Looks like we're getting a little bit of issue. There we go. It's because of how we did this. Get or create call gives us back a tuple, which gives us the instance and whether or not it's created. So I'll say profile created, and that will fix that issue for us. So now we see the different stuff. So let's go back into our template here. All right, so we've got our username and the profile image, or at least the relative path to that image, not the actual image. So if I did .url, it gives me the relative URL to it as well. So this is adding that media URL, which would get me to this image itself. So that means if we jump back into our HTML, we can just do image source equals to this image. And of course we will say if it exists. So I'll say if profile image dot profile, or dot picture, excuse me, put an if clause here. If that exists, then it'll show it, otherwise it will not show it. Because if it doesn't exist, it will just come in as a broken image link, which was something we don't want to have. All right, so there we go. We've got our user now. And I'll just add a little bit of styling for a moment. Cool, so the next thing that I would want to see is actually the match percentage between the requested user, myself, versus the user I'm looking at. So that's something we'll do in the next one.